Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel again. And last time I made a video on the significance and importance of HTML5. And in HTML5, in that video, I basically explained you the importance of the different new elements which are added into the XHTML, and then there was a point where we jump from normal hex HTML elements like tables and lists and paragraphs and headings. What we do is when we code, we start coding the big projects. We basically add more HTML5 elements into it. Then we obviously a real project have much more into it, not only test paragraphs and stuff. For example, we create divs, we have more more meaningful names of the elements. And as I mentioned in my last lesson, excuse me basically we what we'll do is we will in this today's lesson we will cover basically what is new in the HTML5, in the HTML part. When I say what's new, there are so many elements. If I try to cover it's gonna take ages to cover all the elements, but I'm not gonna discuss every single element and its details in HTML5. But what I will do is what whatever elements which are very important these days for a designer or web developer to make really nice looking useful websites for real businesses, those elements which are frequently used and the ones I personally used in my in my job. So I'll try to cover maximum I can. I'll introduce you. Today's lesson is all about all the new elements which are being added. So before I go into the details of, for example, um, if I write for example more meaningful elements on HTML page, before I go into the detail, I want to explain you about these bullet points which I wrote on onto my screen. First of all, you need to understand is the HTML5 has semantic elements. What does that mean? If I tell you a bit of the history of websites or internet or web, before, when people used to search things or search engine used to display results, the web pages people used to visit, the elements they used to contain, for example, the photos and the text and different sections of the websites. Before, it was not a useful information. For example, if you present a photo of a tree, a monkey, a dog, a person, a male or female or celebrity or very famous person, for computer, for web pages, it was just a photo, JPEG or PNG extension type photo. But nowadays, with the SEO, which is a search engine optimization, you most of you must already heard about that term. It's a computer science branch where we basically try to what we do is we try to make our web pages more meaningful, where when people search the queries or web pages or websites should come up on the first results. So add that more meaning to the elements. We do this with the HTML5. You will not find much people which are going to come to you and say we don't need a website which is not search engine friendly. All the modern day websites are search engine SEO friendly. The way we make them SEO friendly by use of the more semantic elements of the HTML5, which I'm going to cover in some of them in today's lesson, and in the coming lessons we are going to cover more. So semantic means we have more meaningful elements to add more meaning to the web page. Number two, there are attributes of the form elements. If you see my second last video, where I was adding date and time and different form advanced elements. There are still so many to explore, but in HTML all these things are possible. For example, if you want to select a date, you will be presented, if you assign a date type to input, and when you click on that input, it shows you basically a calendar where you can choose all the dates. Similarly, we have some elements in HTML5, for example SVG and some other formats, which basically enables us to render the graphics on any scale. You must have heard about the SVG, scalable vector graphics, and we will go into the details. Another most important topic in HTML5 is the multimedia elements. For example, you see when you visit websites, you probably see people, some of the people have videos or audios and these sort of movie websites. So HTML5 came up with some tags which I'm going to cover, which enable you to add videos onto your web page. So what I will do is, today we are going to migrate from normal HTML4, you can call it, or 4.0 or whatever, or hex HTML. Now I think it's the right time for us to jump from normal basic HTML elements to HTML5. So when we excuse me, if when we talk about HTML5, first thing which basically tells the web browser or computer about the HTML5 is this line in on your screen, on my screen right now: doc type exclamation mark, and you have obviously opening and closing HTML brackets. This basically tells computer the document type is going to be HTML. This is why we added that line. If you don't add by default, your HTML is taken as the HTML5 doc type HTML. Number two thing you can add into your web page is the meta char set. It is a bit hard to explain in at this stage about the char set and everything. Basically, you can have a char set of 8 or 16 or 32, depending on, but on your requirement. A good example I can give of this is basically when you have different languages to add in your web pages. If the website is a multilingual website, or you're dealing with a website which is using some of the Greek symbols or phi sign or mathematical symbols or some different other languages character sets. So if you add that characters type, so by default HTML5 uses, as I added under the line here, by default HTML5 uses UTF-8. There were a few situations where I use UTF-16 as well, but we can go into details. What happens is, if you don't specify things, sometimes some of your characters start looking weird, and they make really funny shapes onto the browser when you render your text onto the browser. Um, Next thing is header element in HTML5. Before we were just adding title in the header, but now what you can do is you can what I will do is um, I'll quickly go back to my coding window where we were working last time. So if I quickly go back, this was the page we created last time when we were sending email to over. By the way, I gave you a task here as well to send an auto responding email as a reply to the person who fills out this form, and I didn't get any feedback on this. If you listen to my videos regularly, I would like to know if any one of you can send a code, or if someone knows the PHP part of it, they can use this knowledge to send the email. But anyway, today our topic is the HTML5. What I will do is I'll create a normal HTML page, because I'm not going into the PHP side. We will come back to PHP later. So if I create a new page and call it, for example, HTML5.html, if I save that, and there is a quick way to add a page I showed you last time. Let me quickly increase the font size, HTML, and if you press tab it creates this for you, and it didn't add doc type, so you can really add doc type HTML, and here you can write title, but the header part, I would say, the HTML5 header element. This is why it is meaningful, is because if you write something like here, if you add header, sorry, not capital, header, and if you write anything in this header section, for example, you provide the menu, or you provide logo, or you can provide any details. For computer, when it finds the header tags, it is taking that as the head part of the page. And most of the time in a header part, if you visit any website, you will find a navigation menu or company logo, or some people put their social media icons in the header part. Or some people add some other linking scripts or information in the header part of the website. So header, if you add this header tag, instead of just writing your other elements like p or h1 or any other elements without adding into the header, that's not going to be more meaningful for the web browsers and search engines. But if you put your content within the header, then they have more meaning for the search engines. Similarly, when we move forward, we have navigation items, the nav bar, where click through the pages and you visit the other pages of the website. For example, if I go to legendscloud.co.uk, one of my own website, so if you see the menu here has pages, you click through the pages and then you go to the other pages of the website. If you click on about us, you click on and you go to the other page. So but if you do not provide these links into the header area for search engines, it's not more visible, not more meaningful. Similarly, we have navigation, nav bar. You can create the nav, and anything you provide within the nav, it's going to be the navigation menu. Another thing is in HTML5 main. If you write main, uh, again, main is the area where your browser is basically taking it as a main body area, main content area of the website. And you can create main content area, can have more sections, like sections, articles, more things. But what I will do is I'll pause this video here, and next time I'll cover more HTML5 elements. And once we are familiar with all the basic HTML5 elements, by using these HTML5 and CSS3 elements, we will create a basic website as well. So stay tuned with me. I'll come back with a more HTML5 tags. So I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.